What have you witnessed someone do that made you realize he or she is really, really smart? Story 1. One time, my drunk uncle was in jail and needed bail money, and being that my dad was the only one in the family with any real savings, they all looked to him to fork up 100% of the cash. Having been asked, he realized the situation had two possible outcomes: pay for his bail and never get the money back, not pay for the bail, and the whole family blame him for it. So my dad decided to throw them a curveball. He told them that whatever the rest of the family raised for the bail, he'll not only match it, he'll offer double whatever they raised together. Nobody offered 1 cent. Blame averted. Story 2. I knew two guys in undergraduate who would play mental chess. As they'd pass in the hall, one guy would say, "Knight to Queen 3, or whatever. The other guy would roll back his eyes for a second and then nod to acknowledge the move. Both guys then kept walking in opposite directions. Later that day, when they passed again, the second guy would declare his counter move. A game could last days, and they never forgot where any of the pieces were. Each had a mental image of the board. Sure, they might have been faking, but these guys were always first and second on the dean's honor list. For all 4 years of my undergraduate, I knew them pretty well. I think the mental chess was legit. Most really good players can do this. Once someone becomes familiar enough with the game, it becomes a lot easier to recognize patterns. Of course, intelligence is required advantageous to get good at chess. Story 3. I had a teacher in high school that using both hands could write a sentence starting from beginning to end simultaneously. He even split the middle word of the sentence. He also spoke around 5 languages. Sitting in a best friend's apartment on the East Coast in the mid-1980s, he's working on some code on a prototype Unix workstation MIPS had given him. He runs his program, and it produces an answer. Then runs it again and produces a different answer. Thinks about it for a minute and pronounces, "The CPU is broken." Right, the CPU is broken. Never heard that one before. Has it occurred to you that, yes, it had occurred to him, went through 3 or 4 scenarios, then he pulled out the machine-level debugger and started stepping through the code. Look right here, the flags weren't updated right in this instruction. Yeah, whatever. Sends email on the brand new internet to MIPS, gets a response the next day. "Oh, you have that CPU. We have verified your issue. We will put in a replacement in the mail promptly." His CPU was broken. 30 minutes from diagnosis to request to repair. Story 4. I was at my desk waiting to make a purchase over the phone, and I mentioned to a coworker that I always have to pull my credit card out. I should have this number memorized by now. Another coworker overheard that and said, "I know your Visa number," and spit it right out. After I got off the phone, I asked him, "WTF?" And he said, he heard me say it a couple of weeks earlier. Numbers just stick with him that way. I always knew he was a bright guy, but that took it up a notch. I'd ask him very politely not to ruin your life. Story 5. My wife's grandfather. He's a retired electrical engineer with a dozen patents to his name and a long list of recognitions I can't be bothered to remember or name. I always knew he was brilliant, but never realized just how, until one day last year we were visiting and he got a phone call. Keep in mind he's been retired for 20 years and is 86 years old. The phone call was from an electrical engineering firm from halfway across the globe, asking if they could fly him out to a site and have him consult on the energy capture of the hydroelectric dam they were building. They'd run into a problem that none of them, all electrical engineers, could solve. They had consulted 3 of the top related university departments in the U.S. on the issue, and the last one had referred them to him. 20 minutes on the phone, he agreed to think about it. 2 days later, he had solved their issue and written the solution on a single 8x11 sheet of paper, which he scanned and emailed to the company. He said he took so long to write it up because he didn't want to have to fly all the way there at his age. His explanation was so clear, I was able to understand and follow it with no relevant higher education. Story 6. Older brother was always terrible at school. I can remember him straight up asking why he needed to graduate high school and then again in college. He then accepted a low-level job after graduating in marketing that ultimately fell apart due to the company executives screwing up big time. During all of it, he was somehow able to keep a small client and, within 7 months of working, was promoted to their executive marketing director, making 6 figures. Now he has multiple clients on the side and is always scheming something up. Dude is as hard-headed as they come, but nonetheless, a damn marketing genius. Blows my mind how far he's come. Story 7. I was once in Chinatown and saw this old Chinese guy with a bunch of groceries. He had tied the bags together by the handle and slung them over his shoulder. He looked ridiculous. The next week I was struggling with a lot of groceries, and I remembered that old Chinese guy. stopped on the sidewalk, tied all my bags together, and walked home like the unencumbered dork I became that day. Story 8. Not a person, but my parents' old dog. My mom would get bones from the butcher shop for their dog. They were long enough that the dog couldn't get all the marrow out of the center. The dog figured out that only my stepdad's truck was heavy enough to break them after experimenting with some other vehicles at the house. There was usually a bone in the same spot on the driveway every time I went home. Story 9. In high school, I had a friend who we made fun of all the time for being dumb, but he would have the wackiest ideas that would somehow work. One time, around Christmas of my sophomore year, a few of us decided to buy a 30-pack, and then later decided that we didn't feel like drinking it that night. I couldn't keep it at my house, but one of my friend's parents was coming to pick all my buddies up. Nobody knew how they were going to get the 30 out of my house and to one of their houses. Then my friend came up with a genius idea. He went upstairs to my house and wrapped the 30 in wrapping paper. He then proceeded to carry it right out of the car with our friend's mom waiting and say it was a gift for his girlfriend who he was going to see later that night. I realized that not being great at school doesn't mean someone isn't ingenious. Story 10. Lazy people are the best at this. I witnessed a kindergartner who couldn't draw straight lines, keep his pencil still, and drag the paper around to draw a triangle. Story 11. Anybody who can explain highly complex things very simply. It takes an intelligent person to understand it, but it takes a brilliant person to grasp it so fully they can dumb it down to explain it to anybody. I think it was Feynman who tried to write up an introductory textbook on some obscure topic and concluded that more research was needed because he was unable to explain the topic simply enough. Story 12. When you sit down in a meeting for work while you're trying to solve a big problem and someone can say, "That's the wrong question you need to be asking." People who can do that generally understand the bigger picture and all of the various variables and factors in play, and how everything fits together. It's some next level action to watch the entire room go, "Wow, we're looking at trees, and that guy's looking at the forest." Story 13. A kid in second grade already knew algebra. Everyone knew he was smart. For April Fool's Day that year, our teacher decided to be cute and give us a pop quiz, so she went to the 8th grade class and asked for an algebra test, made copies, and handed them out to us. Some of the kids were freaking out, and the teacher assured us that we already went over this. So she left the room, and some of the kids started crying. She came back in after a few minutes and said that it was just a joke, but she graded the test anyways. The smart kid scored an 18 out of 20. My stepfather used to teach me math that was several years beyond what I was learning in the second grade. I'm an information sponge, and he fed me brain anything that I asked for. One day, my parents got a call from my teacher. The teacher told them that I was teaching my classmates 4th through 5th grade math in my spare time at school, and to make me knock it off. We sincerely appreciate you taking the time to watch our YouTube video. If you find our content helpful and enjoyable, please click the subscribe button to stay updated on any new videos we share in the future. Thank you once again, and we hope to see you in our next upcoming videos.